Welcome to Porch Play Chat, sponsored by the American Association for the Child's Right to Play, or our shorter title that's a little easier to remember is IPA USA. IPA USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association. And as part of our efforts to promote play, we do Porch Play Chats. We've been doing them since 2020. There are 300 of them that are free to you. And you can find them by going to our IPAUSA.org website. And up in the top right-hand corner, subscribe to YouTube, our YouTube channel. I don't know if it's follow or friend us. I think it's friend us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram, but I never remember. And if you do the two of those three things magically every Monday, a new Porch Play Chat will appear in your feed. And these are conversations with people that are just as passionate about play as IPA USA is. And so it's great to listen to on your way to work when you're trying not to, die on the Schuylkill if you're in Pennsylvania, or you're frustrated because it's taking so long. These are ways to laugh and have fun and listen all at the same time. So I'm Deb Lawrence, co-president of IPA USA, and with me on the porch is Carla Ward. Hi, Carla.
Hello.
I'm so glad to have you. Carla Ward is an early childhood educator and the founder of Early Learning Foundations, a business dedicated to education and enhancing the work of early childhood educators. She could not possibly have this many years of experience, but we'll talk about it. Carla is a certified Wunder-Led educator who brings a sense of wonder. 19 years, you can't possibly be that old. The Everything ECE podcast to workshop development to digital course creation is all part of Carla's work. She loves to share actionable and inspiring ideas with fellow educators in and out of the classroom to help support professional practices in early childhood education. Today, this has sort of been a theme today, just so you know, Carla. Today, she's talking about developing self-esteem in young children through the language we use, which is awesome. So let's do it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And I actually just hit 20 years as an ECE.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So yeah, I started at 19 and never looked back.
Oh my God, you can't possibly be 39. There's no way.
Oh, my math is off. I just turned 40 2 weeks ago. So,
God. Okay, well, you look like you're 28 or
well,
something.
thank you. I feel like I'm 28. I still feel like I'm 19 sometimes. So
I
I
know.
think
Yeah,
that's what ECE does. It keeps you young.
it does keep you young and it gives you joy. So let's
It
talk
does.
about this topic because I think it's really important.
Absolutely.
So,
So this is kind of my obsession right now because I work from kindergarten to grade 12. I work with students right across the board, but my specialty is preschoolers and kindergartners. That's where my passion is. And we know that 90% of the brain develops in the first 5 years, and everything we do in those first 5 years does come out later on. We might not see it as educators because, they go on to public school, they move on after us. Because of how I've made my business, I've got 23-year-olds that I
oh,
work with for tutoring. I was their JK teacher.
oh
So
my
I,
goodness.
yeah, so I've seen what happens when you're using intentional language, when you're using play, when you're really helping a child develop self-esteem. And because my work so much now with the older kids is with tutoring, helping them understand that their worth is not associated with the grades that they get, the likes that they get on social media. So
Mhm.
it got me thinking about the work we do 0 to 5 and how play really builds that foundation for self-esteem before those phones get into their hands, before
Yeah.
those percentages get into their report cards. So
Mhm.
everything we do 0 to 5, including the words that leave our mouths, matter.
And that it should terrify us. I remember,
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was teaching, I would perhaps not be having a great day, or someone had pushed my buttons way too much or something. And there would be something that would come out of my mouth that I'd have to go over and say, I am so sorry. I should never have used. It wasn't a bad word. It was just, you know, why did you make that decision? It was the tone, because I was frustrated, that I should never have had. And I would apologize to the child and say, I'm sorry. There's something wrong with me today, not with you.
And so right away, so I will share a story that kind of got me on this journey of language, but there is so much power in apologizing to a child. The look on their faces when we acknowledge that we messed up, it helps them see that A, we're human, but they're also human and they're
Yeah.
allowed to mess up too.
Yes. And we have to have that grace for them. They're little. They're little.
Well,
Mm.
I always share the story, and it's a very embarrassing one, but I share it as a learning opportunity. So I used to have these two little boys in my kindergarten program. I swear they would go home at night and plan and plot who would get the first punch the next day. Like that's how our days went every day. And somebody was always tattling on the other. And one day I just had enough, and this was not my shining moment. And I said, "Oh my gosh," I said, "I don't care. Go figure it out. Figure it out. I don't care. I'm done." Couple of days go by. I don't think anything of it. I'm frustrated, but it was like, whatever, like, we're done. One of the little boys were on the playground. One of the little boys comes over to tattle on the other, and across the playground, the kid goes, "She doesn't care." I was like, oh my gosh, like having your words said back to you is a very humbling, but I was mortified and I was like, oh my gosh, had to call them over. I apologized profusely. I said, "I am so sorry. I absolutely care. I was frustrated. That's not fair to you." And that was it. Like from that moment, I really, because you think they don't listen. You think they're not hearing you. You think they're not paying attention. And then they shout your words across the playground right back at you. And it's like, ooh, my words did matter. How I responded to that situation did matter.
And they remembered 2 days later.
And this is it.
Hello. And
Yeah,
so it's not like you're not going to make mistakes. I mean, all
100%.
of us have made more mistakes than we want to admit, but it's that you're going to recognize the mistake and then
And
try to
that's
fix
just
it,
it.
right? So it's that
Ex-
big, huge aha moment that you don't tell a child. I fired a teacher for this once. I walked into her classroom and the child said, "I really want to do this." And she said, "Oh, honey, you're not smart enough for that." I said, "What?"
Hmm.
And she left. I was done. You don't say that to a child.
Mm-mm. And that's one of the big things that I'm promoting right now is nobody got into this job because we want to make big bucks. We got into this job because we love children. So we lead with heart and we want to say things like, "You're so smart." Like, and the problem is that when you're saying you're so smart, when
Mhm.
they do something right, then even though you would never, with one exception apparently, you would never say to a child, "You're dumb, you're stupid." If they make a mistake and they're used to receiving that praise of "you're so smart" when they get it right, their brain will automatically think, "Oh, well, I must be dumb."
Uh-huh.
Right? It's the
Yeah.
same thing. Like anytime we're giving them praise versus encouragement, what we're doing is we're feeding what I call the praise monster. We're providing that extrinsic motivation, that extrinsic approval, that we're developing that part that says you need my approval. Like, "You're so pretty, your dress is so beautiful, you're so smart, look how gorgeous your picture is." Every time we do that, "I like your picture." Who cares if I like your picture? Do you like your picture? Do you like how you look? Are you proud of the work you've done? Because that becomes their inside voice.
Yes. And their confidence building. If
Absolutely.
if if a child comes to me and says, "Do you like my pretty picture?" I'll say, "What do you like about it? Look at
Mm-hmm.
the colors you used," right? So I'm not saying, "Oh, it's beautiful," or, "Oh, that's lovely,"
Exactly.
because I always go back to Bev Boz and starting at square one when she would say, "What if you don't say that the next time? Is she going to think you think her picture's ugly? Why are you putting all that pressure on yourself too?" That I mean, that's the other thing. Why,
Absolutely.
why are you, why are you doing that to yourself? You should just be authentic. Look how long you stayed doing that puzzle.
Exactly. And when we promote and encourage the effort,
Yes.
then these are going to be children that continue to work hard when nobody's looking.
Yes. Not just when the teacher. So I actually have to share something that happened yesterday. So in the college classroom, this is second semester students, um, and they're coming into a curriculum and assessment program course. And so, inquiry, emergent, integrated, right, is what I teach. But what we talk about, what we're going to do today and how it's going to relate to their future work and to the future assignments in the course, right? And so I said, but first, what I want you to do is work together and come up. And I went over and I put from September to August, all the months of the year up on the whiteboard. And I said, I just want you to think back. If you haven't worked in a classroom with children, think back to like kindergarten, first grade. Even though we're focused on 3 to 5 year olds, just think back. What were some common things that were themes in each of those months that you can remember? And I mean, they worked hard for like 25 minutes. And every time they wrote stuff on the board, they'd look at me. And I would say, just think back to those common things, So I just kept reiterating the purpose of the activity. And I would not shake my head. I wouldn't do anything, right? And so that, I mean, it's the whole whiteboard, 8 foot long whiteboard is filled with all sorts of stuff. And so then I say, so now what we're going to do is we're going to look at 3 approaches, right, to developing curriculum. And so the first one is going to be inquiry. So we watched a short video where this amazing person gave this incredibly in-depth thing on what inquiry learning is. They had note paper because I don't let them use their computers or their iPhones in the classroom. So they had to take copious notes. And then at the end of each one of those videos, I said, okay, what characteristics did you hear about inquiry-based learning? So, and they were right on track. They were telling me all these things and we were putting them up on the board. Then we did the same thing for emergent, the same thing for integrated. And I said, okay, so what you're going to be doing next is you're going to be reflecting on what you put on the whiteboard and what you just learned. And which way should we be approaching curriculum? And they said, oh my God, we can't do any of that stuff. Well, I was like, you shouldn't be doing any of that stuff because that's teacher-led. And we're thinking child-led, right? So it's inquiry. What are they interested in? What are you going to observe? What are you going to ask yourself? All of those things for their assignment that is due tomorrow. So anyway, but that's sort of the intro to that course to get them to do it's so hard to not do the holidays or to not do the same theme for fall and or to do, things that are driven by the IT people who want us to click, right? And I mean, some of them were like, oh, they really like that YouTube show. What YouTube channel? I'm like, I'm not, but I'm, oh, that's not how you play inquiry. So anyway.
But even mainstream media, like I really try to stay away from Spider-Man, Superman, Paw Patrol within my classroom. Listen, I'm so glad that children love them. Like even when Frozen was big,
no.
Like we would explore ice, but you would never see an Elsa poster in my classroom because one, I don't promote those things. But again, it's
commercialism.
It's commercialism. And when we started in kindergarten and preschool, we're basically just paying those big social media people, like we're just making them richer and we're not making the children's minds richer.
Exactly. And so the same thing happens when we say, good job, way to go, nice work. And instead of, well, how do you feel about that? And
That's just it.
what are you most proud of? And, you know, uh, describing, even when a child makes a good decision, I would say, wow, that was, I always did the thumbs up or thumbs down when they were in conflict, right? Is that what do you think you should do? Well, I think I should go bite him. A good decision or a bad decision? About that. And what else could you do? And so then, we eventually get to something. Oh, I think that's a pretty good choice. Let me know how it
That's
works out. And off they go. But it's a it it's so disrespectful and makes them do what my students were doing,
mhm.
looking at me for approval.
Well, and if we don't start it when they're little, I'm seeing it with, students applying to university. I
Uh-huh.
said, well, what do you want to apply for? I don't know. I think I'll go get a business degree. I'm like, well, I love business. Like, what are you going to do with it? Oh, I don't know. What, do you like business? Not really. So
Oh,
maybe a business degree is not the right course for you.
right.
Or, what do you like? And that is the other thing I'm finding for middle school and up. They're actually having a really hard time telling me what they like.
Because they've always been told what to do, where to go, and how long to stay there. Mhm.
And that's exactly it. So giving children the autonomy, like perfect example, saying like what you just said, where I think we could try a different route. Like, what else could we try? You're giving the child a chance to critically think. And
Mhm.
with Google and AI, the more we can give children a chance to critically think, the better. Because again, once that technology touches their hands, they're not even going to notice how quick that shift is
Mhm.
to rob them of critical thinking, autonomy, that extrinsic
Also,
motivation.
relationship. Oh
Absolutely. And if
my
you
goodness.
don't know how to have a conversation and then you have a phone, now you really are never going to develop that skill. Whereas if you learn it 0 to 5 and you learn what that feeling is in your heart of connecting with another person, you
Mhm.
won't be as attached to your phone because you're going to go seek that connection because you know what that connection feels like. Human nature, we crave connection. It's why we love social media because we're connecting, but it's not necessarily true, authentic connecting. It's
Right.
extrinsic motivation. It's somebody liking our picture, telling us we're pretty. I just had my 40th. I've never had so many happy birthdays ever on my social media. For me, because I know better, there were about 12 people that really meant something to me on that
Mhm.
deep, deep level. I appreciated everybody wishing me happy birthday. Would I have been okay if, the other 80 whatever people didn't wish me happy birthday? I would have been fine. However, middle schoolers, grade fives, high schoolers, they
Mhm.
don't have the brain development yet to be okay. They'll think, oh, only 2 people liked my photo, only 12 people
Right.
wished me happy birthday,
Mhm.
right? And so, again, coming back to us really being intentional with our language to increase that intrinsic motivation. So, for one, removing good job, which is hard.
Oh, so even
Removing
me,
it. I catch myself doing it too. But
45, 50 years in this, and I have to like cover my mouth. It's just because it's been so programmed.
100%, right? And I always say, think about two children. Both draw a picture, both drew photo pictures that were developmentally appropriate for their skills. However,
Mhm.
child A has, a really intricate house with birds and colors. Child B has a dot on a piece of paper. Again, both developmentally appropriate to their stage. And you, as the teacher, say, good job, good job. And they look,
Yeah.
and one of two things is going to happen. They're
Uh-huh.
either going to be like, okay, it doesn't mean anything. Or child A, who worked really hard, is going to be like, why would I spend all this time and effort when I can just put a dot and also get a good job?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Right?
it
And
becomes
again, it's
just
removing
this.
the effort.
Yeah, it just is so damaging because then and the what I tell my students is that okay, so you say good job, nice work, way to go, it means nothing. They know that. But then by the time or you say I'm going to give you a sticker if you complete whatever, by the time they get to be 7 or 8, it's not they're happy to get the sticker. You say it's time to take out the trash, and they say, "What are you going to give me?"
Mm-hmm. $10 Roblox card. I've seen it. I've been in houses that have done it, and it is a slippery, slippery slope.
Mm-hmm. It's awful.
Mm-hmm.
You have responsibilities as a member of this classroom, right? You have a responsibility as a member of this household to contribute. And that is your intrinsic motive. You should feel good
Yeah.
about your
Yeah.
contribution. And
But
so,
the
yeah,
problem
it
is,
is such a slippery slope.
oh yeah. But the problem is we get mad at the child when really we've conditioned them to be that way. And then we get mad when you're dating somebody in your 20s and they're like this and you want to blame them, and at some point it is this person has to take responsibility. But if nobody ever helps you become proud of yourself, you become a people pleaser. You do things for extrinsic motivation. And why would I do this if there's nothing? What's in it for me? And we
Exactly. And
can't
look at where
operate
we
as a
are right now,
society.
right?
Yes.
Look
We
at where we
cannot.
are
Exactly.
in our leadership at the moment, all the way down. What's in it
Mhm.
for me? And not
Exactly.
what can I do to help people, not what can I do to support people. And so one of the other things I think is fascinating is that when the parents who give their students money for grades, right? Who are then say, well, I'm going to do a good job because I want the money. I'm not going to do a good job because it makes me feel good. I
Mm-hmm.
want the money. So again,
Mm-hmm.
we're creating a pattern of behavior that's not good. Um, but the other one is the big jar on the teacher's primary grade classroom where she
Yeah.
says if you're kind to someone, we'll put a ping pong ball in the jar, and then at the top we'll have a pizza party. Well, I'm not doing a kindness to be kind. I'm
No,
doing
it's
a
true.
kindness so I can get a pizza party.
And that's just it. It's the reward at the end. And I know it's hard. Like, it's hard because you want to reward because sometimes you're desperate. But the problem is, the more you reward, the harder it is because the ante keeps getting upped. So,
Yeah.
absolutely acknowledge kindness because that is amazing. But acknowledgement is the reward.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
and like it's wild, but also I always warn people, if you are listening and you've got older students, I would even say preschool, kindergarten, if they've been conditioned to good job, stickers, rewards, what happens, and I've seen it firsthand, was when they say, "Do you like my picture?" and you say, "Oh my gosh, you worked so hard." And they're used to good job, they'll say, "But do you like it?" And
Mm-hmm.
you will see an escalation in frustration because they're craving the praise. They've been
Mm-hmm.
conditioned. They want it. And that is the reason to break the praise loop
Yeah.
because that is hurting their self-esteem. Because if a child is relying on us to tell them they did good, they're
Mm.
not developing their own self-worth. They're not developing a good self-esteem. Even Carol Dweck's philosophy of growth mindset versus fixed mindset.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm always telling you that you're smart when you do something, you're going to develop a fixed mindset because when you're going to think, well, I'm good at math or I'm not good at math.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore that's it. Like my worth is this and I cannot learn anything beyond this. And why should I try? Because I'm not
Exactly.
good at it. So why try?
Right. And I see that every day when students are terrified of the two math courses they have to take in the degree.
Oh,
And
yes.
and I'll say, why do you hate math? And you know why they hate math. I know why they hate math. But they're able to verbalize why they hate math and how they always felt like a failure because what was happening is the 1 minute quiz with as many problems as you could solve, in 1 minute, right? And then, this person could solve 40 and I could only solve 10, so I must not be good at math. And that was just over and over and over. And so people lose their ability to recognize what they may be really good at and what they may be good at but they're not awful at. And so it's this whole self-esteem, this whole self-concept. And it always goes back to the three things in self-concept, right? What's your self-image?
Mm-hmm.
How do you see yourself, right? What's your self-esteem? How do you feel about yourself? And
Oh,
and so
100%.
it's just this horrible self-talk. What do you say to yourself, right? I tripped and fell. Well, in my head, I hear my auntie saying, "You're so clumsy," right? And so all those things, that was
Oh,
like 5, all things are
well, oh yeah.
decades later still in my head, and I have to push back against them.
And that's just it. But it's also having the self-worth to know that you can push back against it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm laughing with your math story because I went into high school loving math. Grade 9 math, I got yelled at for asking a question. And I'm a very stubborn person, so I chose to never ask a question again, which
Mm-hmm.
really screwed me over. And then grade 12 calculus came around,
Oh,
and about halfway through the semester, I realized I didn't need it for school anymore. So I just gave up. I was bad at math. This was the messaging that I was telling myself. I was bad at math. Finished with a 47 in the course, failed. I was like, whatever, I don't care. My parents were like, no, no, no. You did not even try. So you can go ahead and take summer school. Got an 83. I was like, oh, okay. Well, it's summer school. The grades are lighter in summer school. Then I go on to teach early childhood, and then I accidentally become a math tutor. And then my kindergartners come grade ones who, keep going. And suddenly I've got kids in grade 10 and 11, and now I'm being asked to teach math.
mm-hmm.
And at first I said, well, I can't teach grade 10 and 11 math. Can I tell you, it is now my absolute favorite subject and best subject to teach.
Mm-hmm.
But studying Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck and Joe Bowler's Limitless.
Mm-hmm.
Life changing because it proved that nothing is set in stone. You can learn anything. But it's knowing that I was worthy enough to even try.
Yes, yes, and it's that birth to 5 is when children need to understand they have agency,
Yeah.
that they can make decisions, that they can have choice, that they can build confidence in what they're doing, that they can repeat it, that they can master it, and nobody has to say good job.
And that's
They
just it.
It's coming from here.
And they have a right to all of those things, and they can have all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
We have to back off
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, I always joke if you find yourself arguing with a 4-year-old, you've already lost. Like you are wasting your breath. But
Mm-hmm.
also, they're arguing because they're trying to get back what's rightfully theirs, their
Mm-hmm.
agency.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes we look at it as defiance.
Mm-hmm.
But if we take a step back and be like, what's happening here? They are trying to tell you what they need, and we need to listen because if we don't listen, and anybody born in the 80s knows this very well when we didn't have a lot of voices, children, is you become quiet, complacent, you speak when you're spoken to, you become a people pleaser who later in your 30s you decide to push back, and it's a real unlearning. Well, what if we just didn't teach it to them in the first place so they didn't have to unlearn it later?
And why, when we tell children to use their words, and then they do, and they raise their voice, we say, "Don't talk to me like that." You just
Mm-hmm.
to use their words. They're using their words. They're angry,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of we tell them use your words, and then when they do, we don't like them. So then we can talk to them if it's just respectful and say, "Oh, those were hurtful words. Can you tell me how you're feeling and why?" Right? And so that they have some understanding and, "Oh, I don't," and they gain empathy
Mm-hmm.
instead of anger because you're telling them how it made you feel, and you're asking them what you could do to help them.
Exactly. And
It,
they're not
it,
responsible for our feelings.
no, or our bias. Hello. that we may not
Hello.
recognize. Hello.
And
So,
there's so much power in saying to a child, like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you feel that way. Or, yes, that does suck. And
uh-huh.
they're like, what?
What?
You acknowledge that it does? Like, sometimes we just have to, like, yeah, I'm so sorry that you have to stop playing because it's outdoor time. That really is unfortunate. However, we do have to go outside, but I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Why
Or you
not?
can leave that right just the way it
Yeah.
is, and we can finish when we come back in. But it's our playground time when we don't want to lose it,
Yeah,
right? So
exactly.
it's that whole, you know, here's the rationale behind why we need to go. But okay, here's an idea. We could save it, and when we come back in, you can finish it. Is that will that work
Exactly.
for you? So it's a way of negotiating that they can then learn and redo. Oh, Carla,
Yes.
this has been amazing. I could talk to you forever.
Oh, likewise.
So stay right there while I close this out. To learn more about IPA USA, please visit our website at ipausa.org. And until next time, keep playing.